Hi, sir. This is T. Kushi from ITA, and my roll number is 37. And my topic for Tech Talk for the subject STM is Test Cases Selection Method for Rapid Regression Testing. So, as you all know, there are different levels in testing. So, and different techniques for testing. So, in that, one of the type of testing is regression testing. So, before knowing about regression testing, let us just know about what is testing and what are the different levels of testing. So, coming to testing, testing is nothing but verification and validation of a data. So, you can, in simple words, you can define testing as V square, that is verification and validation. So you have different levels in testing. So the four main levels in testing includes unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and acceptance testing. In unit testing, the whole product or the whole component is divided into individual components called as units, and these units are separately tested. So each and every unit is separately tested. So that is unit testing. In integration testing, here more than two units are combined together or integrated together, and then testing is performed. That is called as integration testing. And next it comes to system testing. In system testing, the whole system is tested at once. So the entire system will be tested at once, and if any bugs and all are there, then you can rectify them. Next comes the acceptance testing. So in acceptance testing, you will test your product under various test cases, and you will check whether this is working in different conditions and different circumstances and under different work pressures. So whether you can accept it or not is decided using this acceptance testing. Apart from these levels, you have different types of testings like manual testing and automated testing. So in manual testing, what is the thing is that a human should involve. So human involvement is needed. You will test the things manually, whereas in automated testing, you will use machines, like you'll use machine learning algorithms and some other tools and technologies for the testing process. So hopefully both manual testing and automated testing both are important, but automated testing is faster when compared to manual testing, and it is more effective. But in some cases where you need human involvement, where touch is important and where feeling that product usage is important, in such cases manual testing plays a crucial role. So these are the different types of testings, and you also have white box testing and black box testing. So in black box testing, you will only it will only take care of the external things. So it does not need the entire internal function, that the internal code and all. It is not required in black box testing. It will only take care about the external things and external output. Whereas coming to white box testing, it needs both internal and external. So it requests the entire internal process. What is the code that is being used, whether there are any errors in the code. So both internal and external comes under white box testing. So these are different types of testing. These are the different types of levels of testing, and we have also learned about what is testing. So now let us get into the regression testing. So regression testing is the process of testing that modified parts of the code and the parts that might get affected due to the modifications, to ensure that no new errors have been introduced in the software after the modifications have been made. So regression means the return of something, and in the software field, it refers to the return of a bug. So generally regression means return of something in general terms, but in software it is nothing but it is return of bugs. So when do we do regression testing? So why do we do it? When do we do it? Let's know. So when new functionality is added to the system, so for already existing system, you're adding a new functionality or you're making some certain changes in the code. So when a new functionality is added to the system and the code has been modified to absorb and integrate the functionality within the existing code. So when some defect has been identified in the software and the code is debugged to fix it. In such cases, you will use regression testing. So when the code is modified to optimize its working, in all these conditions, you will use regression testing. So what is the process of regression testing? So how will this regression testing take place? Firstly, whenever we make some changes to the source code for any reason, like adding new functionalities or for optimization or etc., for any other several reasons, when you are making changes to your code, then you will perform regression testing. Then our program, when executed, fails in previously designed test suits for obvious reasons. So after the failure, the source code is debugged to identify the bugs in the program. After identification of the bugs in the source code, appropriate modifications are made Then appropriate test cases are selected from already existing test cases, which covers all the modified and affected parts of the source code. We can add new test cases if required. In the end, regression testing is performed using selected test cases only. So this is the process of regression testing. So you can see the flowchart here. So first process is identification of bugs. So first program failure. So since your program fails, you will debug it. Then you'll identify the bugs. Then modification of the source code to make it bug free. Next, selecting the existing test cases, covering the modified and affected parts of the code, generating new test cases if required, and executing the test cases to perform regression testing. So this is complete process of regression testing. Mainly 3 steps. One is identification of bugs, then modification, then selection and execution of test cases. So regression testing involves retest all, regression test selection, prioritization of test cases. A normal simple flowchart which is defining what is regression testing. Retesting of all the test cases, regression test selection, prioritization of test cases. So there are different types of regression testings. Selective regression testing, testing only the parts of the software that are impacted by recent changes. Complete regression testing, rerunning all the test cases to ensure the entire system still functions as expected. Next is unit regression testing, testing individual units of the code after changes are made to ensure they still work correctly. Partial regression testing, testing a subset of test cases that cover specific areas of the software affected by the changes. Next is automated regression testing, using automated tools to execute regression tests quickly and efficiently. Manual regression testing, manually rerunning test cases to verify software functionality after changes. Next is smoke testing, that is conducting basic tests to verify the critical functionalities are still operational after changes. So what are the different types of regression testings? Selection regression testing, complete regression testing, unit regression testing, partial regression testing, automated regression testing, manual regression testing, and smoke testing. So these are the types, a simple flowchart representation of regression testings. One is corrective, progressive, selective, partial, complete, and retest all. These are all different types of regression testing techniques which we are having. So techniques for the selection of test cases for regression testing. So how do you select test cases for regression testing, and what are the different techniques that are being used? First technique is select all the test cases. In this technique, all the test cases are selected from the already existing test suite. It is the simplest and safest technique, but not very efficient. Next is select test cases randomly. So you're going to select test cases very randomly. In this test technique, test cases are selected randomly from the existing test suite, but it is only useful if all the test cases are equally good in their fault detection capability, which is very rare. Hence, it is not used in most of the cases. So if you choose randomly, sometimes it is very effective, sometimes it is not very effective because the random choices will differ. So it is not used in most of the cases. Next is select modification traversing test cases. So in this technique, only those test cases are selected that cover and test the modified portions of the source code and the parts that are affected by these modifications. Next is select higher priority test cases. So generally what all the test cases which are in higher priority, which are preferred more, you will blindly select those test cases based on their priorities. So in this technique, priority codes are assigned to each test case of the test suite based upon their bug detection capability, customer requirements, etc. After assigning the priority codes, test cases with highest priorities are selected for the process of regression testing. The test case with the highest priority has the highest rank. For example, a test case with priority code 2 is less important than a test case with priority code 1. So these are the different techniques. That one is select all test cases, select test cases randomly, select modification traversing test cases, select higher priority test cases. So prioritization, how do you do it? On the basis of technical requirements, and on the basis of customer requirements. So you will take all these requirements. So essential test case, one important test case, execute if the process permits, not important test case, redundant test case. These are all technical requirements. Customer satisfaction is important for the customer, required to increase the customer satisfaction, helps to increase the market share of the product. Test case selection method. So how do you select test cases for rapid regression testing? So when selecting test cases for rapid regression testing, it's essential to focus on maximizing test coverage while minimizing execution time. So you have to test under various conditions within a proper time and within minimum time. So here is a step-by-step method for selecting test cases effectively. First is impact analysis. So identify recent changes in the software under test, access the impact of these changes on different modules or functionalities, prioritize the test cases based on the areas affected by the changes. So impact analysis is the first step. Next is risk-based prioritization. Evaluate the risk associated with each module or feature. Prioritize test cases for modules with higher risk levels. Consider factors such as business criticality and potential impact on end users. So these are two steps. One is impact analysis and one is risk-based prioritization. Next is test case classification. So classify test cases based on their relevance to the current changes. Categorize test cases as a crucial, critical, high priority, medium priority, and low priority. And then focus on executing critical and high priority test cases first. Next is coverage analysis. In coverage analysis, analyze the test coverage of existing test suites. Identify the gaps in test coverage, especially in areas affected by recent changes. Select test cases to fill these coverage gaps, ensuring comprehensive testing of the suite. Select test cases after execution or during the execution. So utilize techniques such as pairwise testing to reduce the number of test cases while maximizing coverage. Prioritize test cases based on their ability to uncover defects efficiently. Consider the dependencies between test cases and execute them in an optimal sequence. Next, usage-based prioritization. So in usage-based prioritization, analyze usage statistics or user feedbacks to identify frequently used functionalities. Prioritize test cases for these high traffic areas to ensure the stability of critical features. Next is automation. Automation includes automate the execution of regression test cases wherever possible. Prioritize test cases suitable for automation, especially those requiring frequent execution. Leverage automation frameworks to accelerate the regression testing process and increase repeatedly. Continuous monitoring and feedback. So continuously monitoring the effectiveness of selected test cases, gather feedback from testing cycles to refine the test case selection method, adapt the selection criteria based on evolving requirements and changes in the software. So these are different techniques used for rapid regression testing. One is impact analysis, one is risk-based prioritization, then classify test cases, then you have to make coverage analysis, select test case executions, usage-based prioritization, automation, and continuous monitoring and feedback. After collecting all this data, then you will select test cases, like you will select all the test cases or you will select test cases randomly or based on priority, or you can also make new test cases based on the changes that you have made in your software. So there are many tools that are used for regression testing. So in regression testing, we generally select the test cases from the existing test suite itself, and hence we need not compute their expected output, and it can be easily automated due to this reason. Automating the process of regression testing will be very effective and time-saving. The most commonly used tools for regression testing are Selenium and web application testing in Ruby, Quick Test Professional, Rational Functional Tester, Windrunner, and Silk Test. So what are the advantages of regression testing? So it ensures that no new bugs have been introduced after adding new functionalities to the system. as most of the test cases used in regression testing are selected from the existing test suite and we already know their expected outputs, hence it can be easily automated by the automated tools. It helps us to maintain the quality of the source code. It saves our time because already expected outputs are fulfilled. So what are the disadvantages are that it can be time and resource consuming if automated tools are not used. So if automated tools are not used, it can be time consuming and resource consuming as well. And it is required even after very small changes in the source code. So even if you make a small change, for that change, regression testing is required. So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages of regression testing. So coming to the conclusion, in conclusion, regression testing is a crucial aspect of software development that ensures the stability and reliability of a software application after modifications, updations, or bug fixes. By re-executing selected test cases, it verifies that recent changes haven't introduced unintended defects or alterations to existing functionalities. Whether automated or manual, regression testing plays a pivot role in maintaining software quality, detecting regressions, and safeguarding the integrity of the software throughout its life cycle. So generally, regression testing is used in cases where you make minute changes to your softwares. So we use this regression testing because so whenever the changes are made, it should not affect the functionalities of the before software. So to make sure that after making changes also the software performs properly, we use this regression testing. So generally, it plays a crucial role in maintaining software quality, detecting regressions, and safeguarding the integrity of the software throughout its life cycle. So, to maintain all this, regression testing plays a crucial role in software testing. Thank you.